There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello, BookTube. I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel, and this is a vlog. Not a Saturday Reads. This is Saturday. Saturday what? I don't know. But I've turned the air conditioning on because it's 14 or 15 degrees out there, so I've used the cool air part of the air conditioner, not the hot air, not the heater part, but the cool air almost every day all through the winter. Just because I, get hot and sweaty very easily. But now it's almost time to turn it on 24 hours a day now that it's up to plus 14 Celsius. Genji thinks I'm crazy, but he's acclimatized to my air conditioning eccentricities. Yeah, I've barely read a thing. I think I'm lucky to get 30 minutes of reading a day. So part of the reason I wanted to do this vlog is that I think I'm kind of a little bit ahead of the game, and I can afford to get a few hours of reading in possibly today and vlog it. But yeah, 20 to 30 minutes in the morning, and that's all I'm getting for the most part. But before that, so I am now up to mailing boxes to myself, to my parents in Canada, up to, well, yesterday was my personal best. Remember, they're fairly small boxes. They have to be 2 kilos max. I mailed 6 boxes of that size to myself yesterday, so that just about killed me. It's about time. I've been telling all my Voxer besties, it's about time my books help me to get in shape and lose weight, because oh my god. I didn't carry 6 at once. I carried 2 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. And after mailing 1 box a day for 14 weeks and realizing that it was only about, I don't know, 60 books, like it was not gonna work. Like I needed to up my game, scale up, as they say. So yeah, 4 to 6 boxes a day, I think it's probably going to solve my book problem. I am still offloading a sizable, up to 40% of my library, giving them away, selling them and whatnot. But the books that I definitely want to keep, I think between the movers, and I've explained all that in my last traffic noisy Friday reads, and mailing them in large quantities, several boxes a day, it's definitely doable. So I'm feeling quite pleased with myself. And yesterday I found out that the post office will come and pick up the boxes from your house, and you just do all the transaction at your house. I guess they bring a weigh scale and they do all that, and then you just pay them and off they go. So even though the exercise is good for me, I have a terrible back, so I think I'm gonna, the thing that I don't know yet is can I place the order with my terrible Japanese? Probably not. I have to get Kenji to help. But if I get one pickup of 10 boxes a week and still make smaller trips, 2 boxes a day, yeah, I think that will make things really good. Okay, I'm gonna vlog me taping up some boxes and putting labels on. I guess I'll white out the labels because I don't want any of you stalking me or my parents. But I've had really good luck selling. I'm offering first to my BookTube besties, and if they're willing to pay the shipping. But I've had surprisingly good luck with Facebook Marketplace selling books. So I think I've sold over $100 worth in the last 10 days or so. And I've got a few other things I'm going to try to sell. I've got an offer on my exercise bike, which I should probably just call my clothes horse, and my, extra table, because I stopped using it months ago. It actually, and I found out since, you're not supposed to use a bicycle. You're not supposed to ride a bicycle with a herniated disc in your back. And it was starting to really bother my back. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it because I had done really well doing an hour a day for a long time, a year or something, but I never did get back to it this year at all. So I've got an offer for $100 on it, and we'll see if the guy picks it up because he has no way of getting it to his house. So, yeah, these things are all tricky to figure out. So maybe that's enough about personal moving stuff, but that is all in progress. I won't talk to you about doing taxes, but whether I live in Canada or in Japan, I never do my taxes on time. I don't believe in it. I'm morally opposed to it, in fact. So I have 4 years of back taxes to file that I have to do before I leave the country. And it's, in a language I don't read, I have to hold up all the receipts and stuff to Google Translate to figure out what the hell it's all about. So wish me luck with that. But I think I'm ready to do my 2018 tax return soon. So I finished a story today. I am still very slowly reading Danielle Evans' short story collection, Before You Suffocate Your Own Fool Self. This was on my Black History Month TBR, and I absolutely love it. I've maybe read almost half now, and the latest story that I finished this morning is Harvest. And let me tell you about it in a non-spoilery way, because it was just incredibly, well, they've all been equally wonderful. What an incredible short story writer Danielle Evans is. I can't wait to get to her second collection, the Office of Historical Corrections. But in Harvest, it's college girls, and the protagonist is Black, and she lives in a dorm with a bunch of other racialized, I've never heard anybody in America use that term. It's coming into Canadian lingo on the news. Racialized Canadians are people where their race is a big deal, so it doesn't include whites because nobody problematizes whiteness, which is the only race that should be problematized. Racialized. So she lives with a bunch of racialized Latina and Black girls in a dormitory, but of course there's white girls too. And the white girls are all advertising in the school paper, the university paper, to sell their eggs, not donor, but selling their donor eggs and getting, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a pop, which is putting them through university or enabling them to buy all the bling, all the expensive stuff. Nobody wants the racialized, the Black and Latina eggs, and they're all struggling to scrape by on student loans, and so there's a lot of tension. And then there's one poor white girl that's in the racialized group until she sells her eggs, which she basically needs to pay her way through university, but then she kind of moves over into the white group. That's enough of the premise of the story, but it was just told with a lot of humor and drama. I will also just add that there is an unwanted pregnancy that happens in the middle, so there's issues of abortion and all of that enter into it, alongside the way that selling your eggs is being explored. So the way that motherhood indirectly is explored through those two themes is just brilliant. Love this book. Last night, I met up on Zoom with David, who is one half of the fabulous booktube duo ShelfPossessed. He and I did a bite-sized chat, which I'm not going to tell you anything about, but that will be in my bite-sized book chats a little later. But I also invited him and Craig to come on together and just have a silly little bookish chat with me. And I'm going to intersperse today's vlog with segments of that. So here is the first segment. I'm here with David and Craig from ShelfPossessed, which is one of my very most favorite new booktube channels. Hello, guys.
Hello.
We've just met on Zoom for the first time, and they're a little bit angry because it's early morning there, and it's beer o'clock here, so they can't join me in a cocktail, but nice to meet you guys.
It's very nice to meet you finally. Yeah.
David and I are going to have a bite-sized chat about a particular book, and that will go up in the bite-sized chat series later on, but I'm going to put this into I don't know if it's going to be a 10-day vlog or a 2-day vlog, but do you guys know the story about why I pronounce it so ridiculously?
No.
It's not very interesting, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I was so stupid when I started on BookTube, and I just started on my first BookTube video. I called it a vlog, and everybody hastened to correct me in the channel.
Of course.
In the comments. And I thought, I think this is going to be my brand, so I have always called it a vlog ever since.
I love it. I love it.
Spell it out. VEELOG.
that makes it better. But it's VEE.
This is my vlog. So shout out your channel, and then if I think you're being too modest, I'm going to add my own 2 cents.
Okay, go ahead, babe.
As Sean said, we're ShelfPossessed. We are a gay couple in the Midwest who talk about everything books, and we read each other's books. We share back and forth, and then we grade books at the end of the month.
You have a report card.
We do. We have a book report card.
Fabulous graphics. Who does the graphics? Yeah,
Me.
Just phenomenal.
It's really fun to create them, and like when we sit down to think about the books, it's like, oh, this is a really easy way of condensing my thoughts down to like, okay, this is what I thought about the book. This is how I feel about the book. And then I think other people will get a similar vibe from that. You know what I mean?
It's fantastic, and it's quite unique.
Good.
Yeah, and then the majority of our day is usually spent grading our students. So it comes natural to us.
What would you grade this vlog so far?
A+. Extra credit. Yes.
I want all the graphics and stuff. I want everything categorized. And you guys read a real wide variety of stuff.
Yes.
Like I would say the complete gamut. Is there anything that you're that neither of you are interested in? I don't think I've heard you talk about a romance novel, maybe.
We do. There is a few romances. Craig likes romances more than I do.
Well, I'm specifically gay romance. I don't read heteronormative romance really at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really a cozy reader. Anything that's really schmaltzy, I kind of stay away from, unless he kind of tells me you really, really need to read this book because I found something in it that I think you could connect to. Then I'll read it.
Your tastes overlap quite significantly. What ways do they overlap?
We like a lot of thrillers, a lot of horror books. I think that's where it overlaps. But a good story, good narratives. But there's a lot of things that we seek out differently in books. I like unreliable narrators. He hates them.
The thing that I think is most funny about both of us is that we do overlap in the horror thriller genre, but I tend to be much more populist in my choices and like picking things that are all over the place. And he tends to be much more very focused on independent stuff. And so we do tend to share a lot that way, which is nice.
And discussing them at the end of each month, it's really interesting to hear how something that one of you recommended to the other, it didn't pan out or did pan out or whatever.
As frequently happens, yes.
And then we kind of choose a book for each other to read that we kind of did on our own accord. We haven't done that in a while, but we're going to have to get back into that.
All right. This is me adding the books to the list. All right. If it's under 2 kilos, it's about $12 to send this by slow boat to Saskatchewan. Takes 2 to 3 months. If it's anything up above 2 kilos, the next cheapest rate is $100. I think we'll be okay. I never threw out any boxes of any of the books I ordered online in the last couple years. Kenji thought I was crazy and the place was pretty cluttered, but boy, I sure needed those boxes. And they're now all used up, so I'm having to buy boxes. The last step. I have 2 boxes packed up. I thought you didn't want to watch me packing up the second box. Here they are. And I'm going to take you to the post office. I have to take a bus. It's Saturday. There's only one post office anywhere nearby me that is open on Saturday.
And David, your tastes actually overlap quite a bit with mine, or some of your tastes, because you read some literary fiction, and that's pretty much all I read, but you read some.
Right. I love all of it. I love all of it.
Usually
somebody kind of recommends me something, I usually that's how I kind of get my books. Or but usually it's literary fiction, which I tend to fall. That's my comfort zone anyway.
Well, this might just be the wine soda talking, but here's an idea for like 2023. I'm too busy for the rest of the year, but next year, if we're still on speaking terms, I'd like you guys to each recommend me a book outside my comfort zone, and I will.
Okay.
I might bail, but I will start to read it.
Yeah,
sounds good.
That'd be fun, and then maybe in 2024 we'll turn the tables.
Yes.
Speaking of bailing, I don't know if you know, but I used to call myself the queen of bailing, but I have promoted myself. I'm now the empress of bailing. I don't remember if you guys are bailers or not.
It depends on the book. There's been a few that I have definitely like sat down and was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. But I think for me, it's mostly like I have I have to finish things. Like if I don't finish things, then I immediately feel like a failure in some way, but that's just me. And so I always like power through. And usually if I'm hating it, I'll still power through.
I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I don't like my time wasted. So if I'm like 15 minutes or 15 pages into the book, I'm not getting anywhere with it, it's still like, I'm sorry, but no, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm more like David in that way. I'm getting a little bit better, maybe choosing a little bit better, but I mean, I've bailed on up to 60 or more books a year. I'm just trying to check. I think I'm getting, I don't know if better is the word, but I'm bailing less. My record was 2017, 110 books.
You don't count.
We
need to start.
I have a separate shelf on Goodreads for did not finish. Last year was 40.
That's not bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I'm a very dramatic bailer, so I love to rant about it, and I write bail reviews on Goodreads, and quite a production.
Yeah, there's been some times where I've chosen books for my TBR that I didn't finish, but I just won't review it. I just choose not to review it.
Yeah. As a watcher of BookTube, like when I know someone didn't finish a book and then they're still going to give it like a star rating or a review, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I partially agree with you. Especially, I agree with you about the star rating because I don't think you should put that in the mix for the percentage. What the rating averages out to. I don't think that's fair. If I've read 70% of it in bail, and I have bailed 15% with 15 pages left to go, I feel quite within my right to give a star rating.
Yeah.
But what would get you to bail on a
book? What kinds of things make me bail?
Yeah.
Flimsy characterization is probably number one. Or puke-worthy prose. Another one of my personal bugbears. Yeah. Those are the two main things, I think.
Yeah.
I don't usually bail for political reasons, like something that bothers me, but I sometimes do.
If the writer doesn't know where they're going, that could also be an editor problem as well. But because we've been having problems with the cover not matching the insides of the book now. So we'll read a book and it's like, well, this is not what the cover promised.
Do you mean the cover design or the synopsis?
Like the cover design.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So anything like that really kind of tears me away. It's like, well, this is not what I bought.
Okay. Because some people get really disappointed if the synopsis, they think they were misled by the synopsis, but I'm one of those strange ducks. I do not read the synopsis.
Last month, what I thought I was getting in the book, which was Devil House, I did not get, but the book was still good. Like the writing was still good, and like the structure of it was really good. I was just at the end, I was like, that's not what I thought I was going to be reading about based on what you were selling me. So I think that's where my frustration lied. And that's a book I could have DNF'd completely, but I didn't. I just kept going, and I probably should have stopped at some point. But
I don't think there's any wrong or right way to be a reader.
No, not at all.
Here I am in Nakano area, not so far from my house, and this is the post office that's open on Saturday till 5. All right, I'm finished there. That cost me about $22, $11 a box. The guy first started to ring it in as airmail, which was $30 a box, and I sure put the kibosh on that. And boy, did he have to go through a procedure to void that mistaken transaction. It added 5 minutes to my processing time, but he was otherwise very pleasant. And now I'm taking you to a Japanese-style cafe called the Kisaten. I don't know how they make the coffee, but it's some of the most delicious coffee I've ever had, and it should be, because it's minimum $5 a cup with no refills. And here's one close by that I've never been to. I'm just not exactly sure how late it's open. It's 4:30. So the question is, I need to ask Nihongo de is Itsumade open desu ka? And hope I can understand the answer. That's a love hotel. Daytime rate between 50 and 70 bucks, evening 88 to 120 bucks. If any of you have read Min Jin Lee's Pachinko, this is an example of a pachinko or slot machine place. Have I ever taken you inside? It is absolutely unbearably noisy. I don't even have to open the door, but look what happens when I open the door. No fucking thank you. Here is Coffee Road. I want to just fangirl about the bloopers. One of my favorite things about your channel is you start with bloopers. So tell us about your blooper.
In those moments, I think there's there may be some annoyance. There may be some anger. Maybe.
What do you mean? On whose part?
When we're filming, usually, you know, if you're just a lone person, you're kind of in charge of everything and how everything looks. And when there's two people in a room together, you have differences of opinions about what you're going to talk about, how things are going to look. So that kind of happens. But I think a lot of those bloopers kind of stem from those kind of annoyances.
Well, it's very entertaining.
It'll sound kind of cheesy, but like we really, even without a camera in front of us, we'll make each other laugh all the time. Like we will say the stupidest things just sitting on the couch watching TV, and like we'll just be laughing for days. And part of it is like he can say something in a video that I can't even fathom how he came up with it, and I'll just start laughing. Or I have a really hard time speaking, so I mess up a lot. Like I have to like stumble a lot. So that's partially where it comes from.
I have to admit that often while David's speaking, I'm watching Craig's face for the facial reaction.
Yeah.
I'm listening, but I'm watching to see what Craig does.
I think that's the fun part. I think if there was a camera watching us 24 hours a day, nobody would really understand what we were talking about. Yeah. Like now, after about 6 years together, it's just, we have a very specific shorthand with each other.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it makes for very high quality booktube viewing. So what are you going to do today? It's early morning. What are you going to do today?
It's Friday. It's the last kind of day of our spring break. I'm going to catch up with work stuff.
I started reading a new book, so I want to kind of see how far I can get through that. It's called Beneath the Stairs. It's a horror thriller novel.
What are you working on right now, David?
Isabel Allende's Violeta.
Oh, it's got quite an intriguing cover, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful cover.
Yeah, I've never read her.
And that's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Well, happy reading, and I absolutely adore your channel. And everybody who's watching, you must go check out Craig and David's ShelfPossessed.
We hope you do. Come by. Become part of the family.
So I've changed shirts because I got wet in the rain. I had an umbrella, thank God, but even so, I was just soaked. I had to change my shirt. This is my new favorite wine. It is a Sauvignon Blanc. I don't know how you pronounce it. From South Australia. Cool Woods. It's at the nearest liquor shop. $14. It's wine o'clock. This is delicious. All right. I had a couple of bite-sized book chats scheduled for tonight, and so I've already done Alina's, so I asked her if she would like to have a 2-minute spot in this vlog talking about a book that she recently bought. So we did that, and my next guest, Trish, may agree to do that too, in which case there'll be 2, and they'll be very short to end the video. But I haven't talked very much about reading because I actually haven't done very much reading. I'm just too distracted by all the practical things I have to do. I started the next story in this mammoth collected stories of Elizabeth Bowen. It's, I think, the 3rd story. It's called The Return, and I only got about 2 pages into it, but I loved it. I just don't have the focus. If I don't get the reading in first thing in the morning before my mind gets all distracted with mailing this or packing this up or listing this item for sale on this web page or whatever, I just can't get back to it. So I only got about 3 pages, but I love this story. So set somewhere in the UK back in the day, and the maid, her bosses, husband and wife with no kids, they've been away for a couple weeks or several days anyway. And they've just come back. And so she's all tied up in a knot because they've come back. They're terrible people. But there's just a couple lines in here that I love. I'm just going to share with you. They've just literally arrived home and bossing all the staff, all the servants around about hauling their heavy trunks upstairs, and everybody's in an uproar. And then this is the second paragraph, the first sentence. Lydia heard Mrs. Tottenham burst open the drawing room door and cross the threshold with her little customary pounce, as though she hoped to catch somebody unawares. Now, I know that personality. I've worked for a few people like that. That was just really vivid. She knows all the gossip about these pair, including that the wife had a lover in the early days of the marriage, but they eventually reconciled. And so there's mail that's come in their absence. And just where I left off at the top of the 3rd page, Mrs. Tottenham summons Lydia to the bedroom, and the husband, Mr. Tottenham, somewhere else. And she says, has my husband taken his mail yet? Did he overlook the letters? I think Mr. Tottenham's post is still lying on the hall table. Is there anything you want to show him? And that's where I stopped, and it's just like, oh, this is going to be delicious. Elizabeth Bowen rocks. And you saw at the cafe that I was reading this, and I did read 2 short chapters. I haven't picked this up in a couple of weeks, and I lost a couple of the threads, but one of the things about, and I have said this on various videos where I talked about my strange reading habits of reading umpteen books at a time, this is a perfect example. I hadn't picked this up for 10 days, 2 weeks, and so I was a little bit lost. Who is this character again, and who is that? But I spent the time paging back and rereading sentences or paragraphs to completely re-immerse myself in it. And I think that process is what deepens my reading when I'm reading a whole bunch of stuff simultaneously. That when I do spend the time, and I don't always, and that is to the detriment of the reading experience, but usually I will take the time to reorient myself in the text, and that makes a deeper imprint, actually. I like this. I'm 75 pages in. I know Lindy bailed. She said it wasn't the right book at the right time. I haven't gotten to anything that's particularly difficult to read, because I think there's a lot of violence in here, but I'm just at the place where the protagonist's mother is starting to be suspected of being a witch, because she scolded a neighbor boy, and then he had a strange illness, mental illness, where he was kind of spasming and fever and talking just weird stuff that they thought he'd been possessed. Somebody had cast a spell on him, and it's just getting to the point where suspicion is growing. So I know where the story's going. The writing is just gorgeous. And that's what I have read today. So let's close out this vlog. I want you to meet Alina talking about a new book she brought into the house, and Trish talking about a new book that she brought into the house. Here they are.
I have a special guest for my vlog. I have many special guests for this particular vlog, and this one is extremely special. Alina from Rotterdam. Hello, Alina.
Hi, Sean. How are you? How's the moving going?
Oh, the moving is, well, you're going to be right in the middle of a video where I'm reporting how the moving's going. And I suppose because I'm talking to you, I'm not doing any packing, but I've done quite a bit today. So
good for you.
People watching should remember you. You were, I think, the very first brave soul to submit a camera flip video for my 4-year anniversary last month it was. But I just thought it'd be fun because I have 2 bite-sized chats lined up tonight, and to ask each of them, if they're not shy, to just show me a book that they've recently bought, borrowed, stolen, whatever it is, and show it to us and talk about it for just a couple minutes. So what have you got, Alina?
Okay, aside from the fact that I'm getting too many books in the house and I'm going crazy, so I have to stop that, but one of them is this book, The Stubborn Anarchist.
Oh, I've heard a little bit about it, but not very much. So you got it.
Neither have I, by Yara Rodrigues Fowler. And she is a British writer, but her parents are Brazilian, or her mother is Brazilian, or something like that. First of all, I love the cover. I mean, who cannot love this cover?
That's fabulous.
She says, when your mother considers another country home, it's hard to know where you belong. When the people you live among can't pronounce your name, it's hard to know exactly who you are. And when your body no longer feels like your own, it's hard to understand your place in the world.
You've certainly whetted my appetite. And good luck trying to cut down on how many books you buy, Alina. Oh my God, I'm kicking myself for all the books I got here.
No, I mean, I love books. And a couple of days ago, a friend of mine asked you, but don't you get nervous because you have many books you haven't read yet? And I thought, no, I don't have that problem. I mean, I don't feel like I just bought this, so I have to read this. No, it's going somewhere, and when I want to, or suddenly I see it, I think, oh, that's interesting. So
in other words, Alina, we are soulmates.
Yes.
And all our friends are suddenly busy when we ask them to help us move. This is Trish, my old Litsy friend, Trish. She's not old, but I've known her for a while. Let's put it that way. She doesn't look a day over 26. Trish, hello.
Morning, Sean. Morning for me, evening for
Morning
you.
For you. It's wine o'clock here.
It's still just cup of tea here.
Well, we'll have to flip that so that you can be drinking the next time. Trish is from Liverpool. We have known each other on Litsy for quite a few years, and she's been on my bite-sized book chats once, and we're going to do another one tonight, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I asked her to pull a book off her recent acquisitions pile and show it to us. So what have you got, Trish?
Very sort of timely, but I bought it before recent events in the world. So it's about Stalin's daughter. So I actually read a book about the Romanovs, and obviously we know what happened at the ending of the Romanovs, and it just piqued my interest generally in Russian history. And I thought, I'd really like to read that from that aspect. What was it like to be the daughter of somebody like that? So it's on my pile, and it's already called The Extraordinary and Tumultuous Life. So I'm expecting a real roller coaster here of the inside life. And then obviously events in the world have overtaken us again with Russia. And I think I do have a bit of a block of, I don't know a lot about Russian history and how that's led to where we might be now. So I always like to know a bit about when things are going on rather than the knee-jerk reaction. So I'm hoping this will fill in a bit of a blanks from there before I move on to anything else. It's a big book. So when I have big books like this, I like to try and do them over a weekend when I don't have any other commitments, so I can really get into the book. And I'm a very monogamous book reader and only read one book at a time. I know it's quite weird. I thought that was normal until I met Litsy people who read like 6 to 10 books at a time.
I think it was Litsy that made me into a book slut. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how people's brain do that. I can understand 2. If one's fiction and one's non-fiction, I can more buy
Or
into
one's
that.
print and one's audio or something. Yeah.
I can't do that. I'm definitely just a one at a time. So if I've got a big book sitting there, I like to know I've got a good few hours to try and get into it and have a read of it.
I have reduced my book sluttery down to 15 books max.
15.
I was up to about 27 for about half of the year last year, so that was out of control. Svetlana Alliluyeva, I'm not sure about the family name if I'm pronouncing it right, but I was aware of her because I grew up with grandparents that were big readers, and they had her autobiography on the shelf. I never read it, but
wow.
I have kind of followed her over the years. She just died 10 years ago. She kept kind of renouncing her father.
That's
and
a
kind of
book
going
synergy,
back.
isn't it?
Yeah. So I'd be very interested. We might have to do a bite-sized chat about this after you've finished. Thank you so much for telling us about it.
You're welcome. I look forward to it now.
This was fun. Thanks for watching.